Over time, the Moweyds were able to locate further spaceships thought to be part of this fleet. So we now know more about the origin of the QICs. Even back then, these spacecraft already had QIC interfaces, so quantum intelligence cubes must have been available back in the mythical early days of interstellar space travel. The various factions are now all setting out to find these spacecraft in order to exploit the benefits of the legendary technology. News of the re-emergence of the Lost Fleet has quickly spread to even the farthest corners of the galaxy, and more species are now also hoping to discover the secrets of these long-forgotten civilizations. Not hailing from this part of the galaxy, they quickly established launch bases on asteroids and protoplanets, thereby giving themselves the chance to explore the spacecraft that have re-emerged. But the Moweyds are already one step ahead of the game, being first to board the TF Mars. Hi everybody, and welcome to a new episode of Paiagroject, the unofficial podcast for the board game Gaia project. I am Matteo, El Temblo, and today we are exploring the second part of the new Gaia project expansion, The Lost Fleet. In part 1, which is the previous episode number 24, you can hear me talking about the various components of the expansion which are not strictly related to the various factions. And speaking about the last episode, I have some Errata. That's great. I haven't had Errata for a whole lot, and that's amazing. It's a great feeling. This comes from the Agricolan, who is very active in the community recently. Thank you. And he just told me that as said that the new advanced technology tile can be taken if you're playing in 3 to 4 player games only if you have already sent 3 of your shuttles to the spaceships. This is not entirely true. I mean, that can be true, but if you're playing in 3 or 4 player games, you basically choose if you're playing with the requirement of having 25 victory points in order to get that advanced tech tile, or to have sent 3, meaning all, of your exploration shuttles to the spaceships. Thanks again to the Agricolan for this errata. I hope more will follow. Of course, I hope I am not making any other mistakes, but let's be realistic, huh? So thanks again. And also we have been talking about artifacts. They're a bit obscure because not all of them are described in the manual, and maybe more of them should have been. Anyway, basically there are 2 which give you the same action as the QIC action of rescoring a federation and scoring 2 points plus 1 for each planet type you have colonized up to that moment. There are also 3, which I haven't been describing in the previous episode, which give you an instant income of 3 ore and 3 credits, and also 2 ore and 5 credits. Another one gives you an income of 1 ore and 1 knowledge during each income phase. So I hope that this clarification helps, but aside from that, these artifacts are really interesting and will be at the center of a lot of experimentation, I suppose, in the following months. Can't wait for my copy to arrive. Now, what we are going to talk about are the components related to the various factions, namely the new exploration boards for the base game faction as well as for the new factions, and of course about the 4 new shiny factions. But first, let me greet you with a message from our sponsor, Magic Mind, which is again sponsoring this episode. And today I'm here to report the end of the 15-day challenge they issued me a few months ago. I have been taking their mental performance shots for 15 days. And what can I say? Well, I was a bit skeptical. How am I doing now? I'm doing great. I am focused. I am productive. However, it's again 20 past 10 p.m. in the evening. I am recording this episode. Of course, enthusiastic about Gaia project as always, but I am also fully focused. I have no crash. I have no dizziness. So, well, you can prove it yourself if you want to have a look at Magic Mind. That's really interesting. have a look at that. You can find the link in the description, as well as my discount code, paiagroject20. That's always that, which will give you 20% discount on a single purchase, or a whopping 48% discount on your first subscription. Thanks again to Magic Mind for sponsoring us, and also for issuing me this challenge. It was fun. Thanks, guys. And now back to Gaia Project. Well, today is a fantastic episode, which forms, so to say, a single large episode with the previous one. There, I just introduced the concept that there are these exploration boards, which serve two different things. The first one is that they list how much your faction has to pay in order to explore a spaceship, and also it physically holds your exploration shuttles. Also, on a few of the new exploration boards, you will find some additional details about the faction you are playing. The base game factions have been slightly rebalanced in the Lost Fleet. This is due, I think, both to a lot of issues which throughout the years have been reported by the players all around the world, and also in part because of the new environment created by the very addition of the Lost Fleet to the Games of Gaia project. Anyway, they're as follows. Ivits now start with just 4 powers total. They start with 2 powers in Ball 1 and 2 powers in Ball 2. What are the implications of this? Well, first of all, Ivits are no more guaranteed to get 100% of the times the cost for power actions as their first action in every game, because now at least they have to charge 2 more powers, because before they had access to them just by burning 2 powers in their Bowl 2, and they had absolutely no problem in getting one of those actions as the first thing in every game. Now that's no more. They need a booster which charges at least 2, or they have to be charged before that, of course, but the other players can deny them this opportunity. Also, Gaia forming will be harder for them now, because they have to at least get to the level 2 of the Gaia forming track in order to Gaia form, but even in that case they will have like 5 plus 3, 8 power total round 1, so they will disrupt their power cycle. On the bright side for Ivits, having just 4 plus 1, 5 power tokens in their power cycle round 1 makes it more efficient for them to receive charge throughout the game. So we will see if this is a nerf, if this is just a slightly a rebalance. My initial opinion is that it's not that impactful, but at least the fact that they don't get the 2 or power actions 100% of the times every single game is something, is at least something. We will see. Regarding the other factions, what's in the menu? Well, we can also talk about the yellow factions, because these are very interesting. The Xenos can now, of course, spend 1 ore to gain 1 power, and you will tell me, I know, Matteo, they always could do that. Yeah, but now that power goes straight into Bowl 3 of their power cycle. This was unexpected, to be honest. I am very happy the Xenos were a bit boosted, because they were always a slightly disappointing faction, so to say, in my eyes. There are Xenos stands out there, I am not one of those. I have tried a lot of things with them. They're very fun to go up the QSC track round 1, but that's just it. I really don't dig Xenos too much. I'm happy to see that they gained a boost. This kind of bonus really doesn't tell me much, to be fair. We will see, however, what it does and which impact it will have. I think it won't impact that much, but I could be wrong. What's big instead, let's remain on the yellow board, is the new exploration board for Gleens, because here now they have special actions, which they can use once per round, one of my beloved buttons. And with this special action, they get +2 to their movement every round once. I fell in love with this thing. I couldn't be happier for poor Gleens. They were always probably the hardest faction to play. I think they always had, along with Lantids, the narrowest set of occasions in which they could be played effectively. Poor Gleens literally really didn't deserve that. I love this. This changes a lot of things for them. This means they cannot be boxed as easily as it was. They're not forced anymore to go up all the way on the navigation track, and so they can now decide to go up terraforming or Gaia forming or even one of the other tracks without having to be forced to go up the navigation track all the way up to navigation 3. Fantastic, great, I love this. We also have 2 more changes. One of them is a big one, and it's for Bescods. Bescods now start with 3 knowledge. This means that Bescods can start a game with one of the 2 boosters, which gives them 1 extra knowledge, and so they have 2 bumps on the tracks guaranteed round 1. Combine that with opening a research lab and you have 3 bumps on a track of your choice. That's fantastic. You only have to build a lab. Your lab will also grant you a nice income of credits. And if that booster is 1 knowledge and 3 points for each research lab, that's a nice start for Bescods. Like it a lot. I think they deserve something like that. It doesn't change their game a lot. It just gives them a nice bump at the beginning, which they can really make use of. I'm happy for this. Lantids. Lantids get an income, a fixed income of +1 power for each round, for each income phase, so for each round. Lantids really need this. I have to tell you, I don't think that this will solve all of their problems, because Lantids still have a very narrow set of conditions in order to be excellent, in order to score a lot of points. But I'm playing a Lantids game by now. It's not going well because I decided, okay, now I'm good enough. Let's try to start the game going up navigation instead of economy. And it doesn't work that well. It doesn't work that well. I walk all my way up to navigation in order to get the advanced style. I got it, but I don't know. They always lack a bit of oomph at already at the beginning of the game. Lantids really have to deal with the extreme poorness they start in. However, when you have to form federation with Lantids, power tokens are always a huge problem. So I'm happy that at least that won't be a big problem anymore. I don't know, this synergizes really well with the fact that they will open their planetary institute most of the games. It doesn't synergize really well with the new economy track because you won't charge as much as before. But that's okay, I suppose, with the Planetary Institute. And also, Lantids now have their adjusted Planetary Institute tile, because if you are playing in 2 players, remember I described this last episode, if you're playing 2 players, Lantids now get their 2 knowledge bonus, also when they build a mine on a blue planet. Lantids can score crazy science points in 2 players. When you're playing in 3 players, when you place one of your embassies, or however you want to call them, you now charge 1, which is nice, especially now that they are gaining 1 extra power each round. So this is all for Lantids. I don't think it will change the game too much for them, but I'm reporting it here, and I think that's fair. They needed something. At least now federating will be way easier for them, because along with all their problems, now Lantids constantly have to deal with their scarcity of power tokens. I take the 3 powers power action, which gives me 2 more power tokens more times than I wish I had to. So if they can at least find by themselves the satellites for their federations, that's a welcome addition. Okay, I know where you want me to go. Let's talk new factions. So, new factions for Gaia Project. Now, first of all, I want to thank the Agricolan for providing me all the illustrations of the various boards. Thank you, man. He was really kind and sent me high-res images for all the boards of the new factions. Thank you, the Agricolan. I really appreciated that. New factions. In the box, there are also the components for 2 new factions. The new colors are turquoise and pink. and they come along with their exploration shuttles, of course. There are 27 of them, so 3 for each color in the game, which now are 9. Which are these new factions? They all have some things in common. They all begin the game with just one structure. In most cases, it's a mine. For Tinkeroids, is their planetary institute. Keep this in mind, because you will hear me say a lot of things about these new factions, a lot of good things. But remember that, and I won't repeat this, they start with just one structure. This means that the new factions are much more predictable than the others are regarding their expansion. And this is a disadvantage, is a built-in disadvantage that they all share. So their abilities are, I'm spoiling this, but are, on average, I would say it's slightly better than those of the base game factions, but they have this built-in disadvantage. So keep that in mind. Anyway, only time will tell if they cause problems or are too good or whatever. They all begin the game on asteroids or protoplanets, of course, because every faction is linked to a home planet by their color, and pink is now the color of asteroids factions, and protoplanets are inhabited by the turquoise factions. However, this is not entirely true, because neither the pink nor the turquoise factions have any home planet type. Instead, they start the game on asteroids or protoplanets, but they have to pay the full cost every other faction has to pay in order to colonize asteroids or protoplanets, regardless of the fact that they started there. Regarding terraforming costs, things become very weird here. Okay, so for protoplanets and asteroids, there are no changes in the rules. You can hear the previous episode. There I detailed how much you have to pay in order to colonize the protoplanets or the asteroids. Briefly, that's 3 terraforming steps for protoplanets and 1 Gaia former that you have to discard completely to colonize the asteroids. But at least you won't pay for the mine. So, okay, you have a small discount. Moweyds or Tinkeroids have a bizarre way of terraforming base game planets, which is as follows. They pay either 3 terraforming steps or 1 terraforming step in order to colonize the base game planets. This is decided as follows. So, if in-game there are any other base game factions, and this is always true unless you are playing 2 players or solo player using exclusively these 2 factions, all the home planets for the base game factions which are in play will cost them 3 terraforming steps. Both Moweyds and Tinkeroids will always pay 3 terraforming steps to colonize at least 3 types of base game planets, regardless of the fact that in-game there are 3 base game factions or not. The other ones are basically decided at random at the beginning of the game through a quite complex procedure, but that's basically a random drawing. And don't worry, Gaia Project is still a game of perfect information. This is done before the factions are picked. So you can take your decisions knowing exactly everything. That doesn't change. All 4 of the new factions will place their initial structure, be it a mine or a planetary institute, after the base game factions have placed both their initial mines. 3 mines for the Xenos, so all 3 of the Xenos mines. Then the expansion factions will place their mine or their planetary institute, and then the Ivits will place their planetary institute. This is fixed and is clearly detailed in the rules, so there can be no confusion about this. So, okay, Ivits have been slightly nerfed with their power, but they have a small edge on the new factions. And now, let's detail these new factions. Let's start with the poster boys of this expansion, the Moweyds. The Moweyds start with a single mine on a protoplanet, and the Moweyds have the following abilities. They start at level 1 Gaia forming. They also start with an exploration shuttle already on the TF Mars, which is always present, even in 2 players games. This I love, because this ability is linked to the lore of the expansion, and I I really like when the lore has an impact on the rules of games. Looking at the board, at the faction board of the Moweyds, they are not exactly the standard faction under the aspect of the initial resources, because, okay, so they start one step with the Gaia forming track. We have the third faction of the game, which starts at level 1 Gaia forming after Terrans and Baltax. And also they share with Terrans another feature, which is starting with 4 powers in Bowl 1 and 4 powers in Bowl 2. 8 powers, just like Terrans and Itars. So we already see where the Moweyds go, but keep listening, things become weirder. They start with 5 knowledge, meaning that round 1 they will have 6 of them. So Moweyds so far are the faction which has the most knowledge points at the beginning of the game. And they start with 6 ore. 6 ore added to the base 1 ore income and the income from their initial mine, which brings them to a grand total of 8 at the beginning of the game. So another Itar-like feature. I don't know. This is a bit of a paradox, because this makes more palatable to me the fact that Itars start with an extra ore, because okay, they're not the only ones, so it looks like this was thought out. I don't know. We will see how Moweyds fare. They seem really strong to me at a first glance. I'm not talking here because I reserved that to the strategy guides, which will come sooner or later, but the artwork is adorable. I really, really like it. Anyway, these are not the only weird things, because Moweyds start also with 2 QICs for no clear reason. I don't know why. But here we are, with a faction that has an extra QIC at the beginning. Their Planetary Institute is a regular Planetary Institute because adds 1 power token to their Bow 1 during the income phase, and then charges 4, or charges 4 and then adds 1, however you want. Then it unlocks a nice button for Moweyds. Moweyds have an extra component, which are these 6 power rings, and using this special action, you can place one of your power rings on a planet where you already have a structure on. This can be a protoplanet or an asteroid field. The structure on that planet immediately adds 2 to its total value. This means that a Planetary Institute is now worth 5 power without having the dedicated tile. This is very weird. In general, I think that Moweyds are fast. Moweyds are fast expanders, are fast at getting advanced technology tiles. They are fast at doing whatever they want. Maybe they won't climb technology tracks that fast, but they are very fast also at federating, and they are fast at Gaia forming. Why is that? Well, they start on the TF Mars. Remember the introduction to the first episode? And the TF Mars grants them a very interesting power ability, which is to immediately place a Gaia form on a trans team, with the trans team already transformed into a Gaia planet, ready to be colonized. If they have the power, they can do that round 1 and colonize immediately a trans team planet round 1. Also, Moweyds, as I was saying, have a terraforming cost of 3 steps for 3 home planets of the base game, but they have to pay just 1 for the other planet types. And the TF Mars has the credit action, which allows you to take 1 terraforming step for a total cost of 3 credits. Let me theorycraft for a moment. We have our initial mine, and we have our exploration shuttle on the TF Mars. Great. Somehow we can perform the Gaia forming action. It's not a given because we have to charge 7, which is a lot. But yeah, we can also decide to burn 3 power, to just charge 2 and burn 3 power tokens. So first action, we build a trade station, we charge 2, then we burn 3 and perform that action. Okay, now we build our Planetary Institute. Until now we have spent 6 ore and 9 credits, hopefully. but I would say 9. We still have at least 2 more ore, so that's not a problem. And we still have 6 credits, again, at least, fine. We now perform our terraforming action, which costs 3, and build a mine on a base game faction planet. We have 2 QACs, so that won't be hard. We are now down to 1 credit. Okay, we want to build another planet, so we use a power action to place one of our Gaia formers. We do that, and then we build our mine, the following action. However, we now have our Ring of Power, so we put them on our PI, or whatever we want. Our PI now counts for a total of 5 power, and we have 2 mines, so that's 7. We can form our Federation round 1, when we want to take the 6 credits. I don't know, does this make sense? I don't think so, because now we don't have a lot of income. But Moweyds can do things fast, they're weird. We will have to see them in action. I will have to play them and I will have to assess their strengths and their weaknesses. However, they look like the more complex of the new 4 factions and under many respects the more interesting. I like the fact that we have a new dedicated Gaia forming faction which works in a new way because of course it exploits the mechanics of the expansion. So we will see, but I think that the Moweyds will become... okay, now we need another Gaia forming faction. Oh, Moweyds are there, ready to fill that role. Next up we have Tinkeroids. Tinkeroids are the new Bescods, looks like, because they're androids as well. Tinkeroids start with... they also have a weird start. As said, they start with their planetary institute in play, so not a mine. Just one on an asteroid field, but that's their PI. And also they start at level 1 science, just as Neblas do. Like Neblas, they start with 2 knowledge, so they now are at 4 knowledge, because they get 1 from their income track and 1 from their regular income. Unlike Moweyds, they colonize Gaia planets with 2 QACs. This is common to all of new faction except for Moweyds, which already shows their affinity for Gaias, but they start regularly with 1 QAC. Tinkeroids also start with the regular 4 ore, probably because the initial PI had to be balanced somehow, and maybe for the exact same reason they start with 4 power in ball 1 and 2 power in ball 2. And keep in mind that they start by charging 4 and also adding 1 power. Tinkeroids have no other abilities except for the ability of their PI, which is they are a bit the Ivits of the expansion, so to say. Their PI grants them a special action, just as the Ivits Planetary Institute does. But what does this do? Well, it depends. You have to decide, because along with the faction board, you will receive 6 tinkering tiles. Of course, Tinkeroids tinker. You will have to change this tile each round. You have 6 of them, and you will have to decide which one you are using each round. There are 3 tiles which have to be used from rounds 1 to 3, and 3 tiles which have to be used from rounds 4 to 6. Of course, these 3 are more powerful, and you will have to switch between them throughout the game. Tinkeroids can be terrible for people who are prone to analysis paralysis. Overthinkers are destroyed by Tinkerers because they will want to plan all game starting from before round 1. Tinkeroids are, I think they're really fun. They look a bit like the Ivits of the expansion with this start and the 6 special actions. By the way, these 6 actions are charge 4 power, gain 1 QAC, so they can basically start with 2, perform a terraform and build with a free terraforming step. So they have the inbuilt step booster in their board. And remember that they, just as the Moweyds, colonize 3 of the base game planets with 3 steps, and the other ones with 1 step of difficulty. So having a 1-step planet at range of your QAC shouldn't be too hard. I think that Tinkeroids will often start with the step action on their PI, but that's at least the most intuitive. But we will see. They look very fun. I don't know if they have a special affinity for the knowledge track, but anyway, this is the second faction which starts there. I don't know, they seem a lot of fun, they seem very versatile. The so-called advanced tinkering tiles are very, very interesting because one of them gives you 3 knowledge. So we basically have a one-shot advanced technology tile because the button for 3 knowledge is now available for the Tinkeroids for free. The other one gives you 2 QACs, and in late game we will likely use these for QAC actions. And the last one allows you to terraform for free 3 steps while building 1 mine. And I don't have to tell you that there are round bonuses, which give you 2 points for each terraforming step. And now there is also an advanced tech tile, which gives us the same thing. So, well, Tinkeroids can have some affinity with that tile. I don't know. The next one comes straight from Terra Mystica. It starts on protoplanets and is the Space Giants. Those of you who know Terra Mystica will immediately recognize their ability, because Space Giants are the only one of these 4 factions which has an inbuilt ability in their exploration board, meaning that once per round they have 2 free steps to colonize one planet. This ability is great per se. They consider all types of base game planets at 2 terraforming steps of distance. So once per round they can colonize one planet without having to worry about anything about terraforming costs. But then, well, Space Giants I think can be a bit hampered in their expansion, because they will have to pay a lot in order to colonize. They probably will want to go up the Gaia forming track, but that's not a given. They start at level 1 navigation, 1 regular QAC. They start with 6 ore, so they go to 8, just like Moweyds did, and with 3 knowledge, which will become 4. Okay, 15 credits for all of them. I haven't said anything about this, but all of them start with the regular 15 credits. Power, they start with 4 power tokens in Bowl 1 and 4 power tokens in Bowl 2. Again, another faction with a lot of power tokens. Can this be a hint of their synergy with the Gaia forming track? I suppose it can, but not with Gaia planets which are already printed on the map, because just like every other new faction except for Moweyds, they have to pay 2 QICs in order to colonize a Gaia planet. So no, I wouldn't say there's a particular affinity to those. Their PI is unique in the sense that, of course, it will give them 1 extra power in Bowl 1, but it will charge 6 powers during the income phase. And when you open it, you will get a technology tile, just like you would by opening, I don't know, a research lab or an academy. Very straightforward faction. I am afraid that Space Giants could be a bit hampered in their expansion anyway, because 2 steps is steep. Okay, they have their special ability, but I don't know. It seems like they are basically forced to go up the terraforming track, or maybe heavily Gaia form. I don't know. I'm a bit perplexed by Space Giants as of now. I think they're the less interesting of the 4 as in this moment, but again, we will see. I will want to try them, of course, so who cares. Now, the last one, last but not least, I will say, is the Darkanians faction. Darkanians. Okay, let's talk Darkanians. Darkanians start on an asteroid field. They regularly have 1 QAC. They start at navigation 1 and at economy 1. I think that no other faction in the game starts with 2 technology levels, but they do. 15 credits, 3 knowledge, 7 ore. What? 7 starting ore, which add to a total of 9 before taking the booster. Darkanians are out of control. But combine this with the added income of the credits from the economy track and the extra QAC from the navigation track, Darkanians really have an insane amount of resources round 1. And I haven't even talked about any of the boosters. I don't know, Darkanians start with a lot of stuff. They can do a lot of stuff. They can open the academy without even trying. I don't know. That's brutal. That seems almost too good to be true. 4 power in Bowl 1, 2 power in Bowl 2, so a slightly nerfed power cycle. I mean, so you want to take also the 2 power action? That seems a bit too much. Speaking about their Planetary Institute, when Darkanians open their Planetary Institute, they will charge 4, gain 1 power, or regular, and then every time they colonize a new sector or a deep space sector, they will instantly get 2 extra credits and 1 knowledge. So Darkanians likely want to open their PI and then start expanding. Darkanians colonize every single type of base game home planet with just 1 terraforming step. So they are the faction of the expansion, which colonizes home planets of the base game with the most ease. Darkanians seem very, very aggressive. as an expansionist faction. I think that Arco Cornerman was suggesting that they are very, very aggressive, and now I see why. I don't know, they seem very straightforward and very forgiving also at the beginning, but I might be wrong on that. But I don't think so, because just open your PI, then build 2 mines, and you're fine. You're also getting 2 extra knowledge, 4 extra credits. They're good, man. They're very good. Okay, Darkanians, however, have no special ability which helps them terraforming. So they have to go up the terraforming track or rely on the various step booster, special action, power action, credit action, and so on. That could be their problem. Aside from that, wow, they really could be a very nice build-up faction. Maybe building up is also the key for the Space Giants. Okay, so that's it. These are the 4 new factions. I won't say much more. First of all, because I have been talking enough, but also because as I was saying in the previous part, I don't like theory crafting. I like to talk to you about things I have experimented. I like to hold my judgment for a bit on these. We are organizing an intro game on Sunday, September the 1st. It should be at 6:30 p.m. GMT. I think we'll stream that. That will be the first stream. It will be an experimental stuff, so it's a learning game. It won't be that interesting, but if you're curious about see my first stream, maybe check that out. I will link that in the channel of the Discord. Anyway, so this is it. These factions will for sure have an impact on the game. Everything's new. Most of us still have to receive their copy. I have to receive my copy yet. So we're all excited. We all want to try this out. It's difficult to draw conclusions, to talk about this in a definitive way. I just like this stage, I just like this moment where everything's new, everything's interesting, everything seems full of possibilities. So yeah, let me enjoy that as well. Okay, so thanks again for listening. I just want to remind you about our sponsor, Magic Mind. Check out in the description the direct link and the discount code, which can help you in trying that should you be interested. You can also help directly the podcast through Ko-fi via donations, whether it be single time or a recurring one. I appreciate anything, every single cent. I really appreciate that. Please remember to subscribe to the podcast on your listening app of choice. Leave a comment and maybe rate the podcast 5 stars. I don't know. Write a review saying that the Darkanians are broken for sure, Space Giants will ruin the game, and Moweyds have the best artwork ever, because that's true. Also, the Darkanians one is nice. Has that Dark Elves vibe, which is nice. Seems to complement the Nebulas one somehow. Thanks for listening. Also in the description you can check out for the t-shirts of paiagroject. I wanted to add a mug, by the way, because today I realized that I need mugs for home, and I said to myself, well, why not make one with the paiagroject artwork? So they will arrive soon. That's a threat. Thank you for listening, and as always, hear you on the next episode of paiagroject. Bye!